What's up, angels? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Aurora and I am here to give you the tea on what your spirit needs. So y'all like my intro? I really fuck with that. Thank you. So I am here tonight. It's probably not going to be nighttime when you watch this, but it is currently 3 a.m. and I cannot go to sleep with this message that's on my chest. And as we go into 2024, I know that everybody is scrambling to write New Year's resolutions. You're scripting, you're manifesting, you're doing the 369 method, you're trying to get all your shadow work out the way so that 2024 can be the best year of your life. And I am so proud of you. First and foremost, for all of the efforts that you have put forth in 2023 to uncover, unveil, reconcile any aspects of yourself that you know no longer serve you, but also deserved some healing before you move forward. In this episode or in this video, I just want to discuss how doubt can cause delays in your life and how to overcome them in 2024 so that your relationship to self-sabotage, your relationship to self-doubt, your relationship to insecurity can be broken for good. So this is a method that I came up with months ago, and it is a method that just came back to me today. And so I first want to talk about what it means to have doubt, where self-doubt comes from, and essentially how to manage that doubt when it is attached to a desire and you're trying to call something in, you're trying to attract something to yourself, you want to manifest this experience. What do you do when doubt arises and it constantly arises to the point where you just give up and you no longer feel that your desire or your worthiness of what you're asking for is valid? I feel like our desires come from a version of ourselves that already have what we want. And the reason why we have these desires, these unique blueprinted, like, you know how your thumb has a very unique fingerprint? Your desires have a very unique fingerprint. And the reason why you crave these things is the same reason why you crave a certain type of food when you're on your period or when you're pregnant or when you're just, we have cravings because our bodies speak to us from a very deeply emotional state that is almost also very spiritual as well. Our bodies have minds of their own. And so when we receive a desire that drops down into our body, it's coming from a version of ourselves that is emotionally and spiritually connected to a higher self on a higher timeline that we have not yet integrated within our present self. So it comes in the form of a desire. And so when you have a desire about something that you do not currently have, it's like a craving. You'll want to scratch the itch because it's something that you need to have in order to satisfy or fulfill this desire. And so desires are kind of like a GPS system. And when you know that something that you crave exists, it's not like you're craving something that has never been heard of before. You're craving something because you've seen it, you've heard of it, you've had it before, you've seen someone else with it, or something of that sort. Like, you can see in your mind's eye exactly what you're desiring because it's a real thing. So your doubts come into play when the version of you right now has an attachment to a limiting belief within your self-concept, within your psyche, within your subconscious mind. When you have a deep emotional attachment to a sense of self, which is your self-concept, which is essentially how you perceive yourself, your identity, your perception of who you are, as well as how you assume that other people view you from the outside, and you have a deep emotional attachment to a sense of self that is a failure, a victim, someone who cannot or is not worthy of receiving what they need to some degree or capacity, that is what we call a limiting belief. And the reason why it's called a limiting belief, as we know, is because it limits you from the full capacity of your true self and the true nature of your God body, because you are a reflection of God. Therefore, God has no limits, and neither do you. But to place limits on God is to place limits on yourself. So what you think you are incapable of is just a narrative that you have been emotionally attached to because of an experience that you went through, you witnessed at the hands of others, or was projected onto you by someone else who went through it. This is where the 4-step method comes in at, where you essentially are going to detect your doubts that are in relation to your desires. So this 4-step method, I call it the detect, deprogram, reprogram, and reinforce. The first step is to detect. So you want to take a look at what you're desiring, what are you manifesting, what are you feeling called to, what do you want to attract to yourself. And then you also want to detect what your doubts are about being able to manifest this thing. What are your limiting beliefs regarding your capacity to maintain what you are attracting or wanting to manifest? Off the rip, you need to do some inner work. You need to do some shadow work. This step requires you to answer that question full out. Write it down on a piece of paper. You can journal it. Or you can just ask yourself out loud and record your response on your phone in a voice note, okay? The reason why this is so important is because you need to get down to the nitty-gritty with yourself. Your mind will literally hold and hide so many things from you about yourself that you will never know until you ask, why do I think this way? And so the reason why you want to ask yourself, why do I feel incapable of receiving? Why do I feel unworthy of receiving? Why do I have doubts about what I'm desiring? Why do I not feel like I can attract this to myself? And why is it this and this and this and this? When you ask yourself questions, your subconscious mind is automatically going to respond and feed you the answer that is nothing but the truth. And that is what we call shadow work, because it's hidden underneath, our day-to-day conscious minded logical activities. But when you actually ask yourself things that have been undisclosed or just suppressed from your day-to-day life, then you'll get to some really deep and sometimes dark, but definitely necessary information for you to uncover and work through. And that's step 1. And step 2, that is the deprogramming part. Once you have decided that, okay, this is exactly what's going on, now I understand why I fear or have a limiting belief about being able to manifest ... That deprogramming process is essentially breaking down that limiting belief into dust so that you can start with a fresh, clean slate when it's time to go into the reprogramming part. Deprogramming is breaking down the limiting belief, and that can be done in essentially 2 ways. So the first way that I like to do this is with a method called the Law of 3. And the Law of 3 is kind of hard to explain, but I'm gonna make it simple as I possibly can. Essentially, just imagine that there are 3 forces. There is a affirming force, there is a denying force, and there is a reconciling force. And imagine that the affirming force is the motivation of your desire. The affirming force is, I feel motivated, I feel like I'm craving, I'm desiring 10K in my bank account right now. But the denying force is like, you don't have a job. You don't know nobody who can spot you $10,000 by tomorrow. You don't even have a side hustle or a big hustle, like a main hustle, that can make you $10,000 by tomorrow. That's the limiting beliefs. That's all the things that pop up in your head that tell you no. That is also your conscious mind. It is your rational mind. It's basically just saying, like, I don't see $10,000, and I understand that you want $10,000, but I'm telling you all the ways that I do not see that being possible right now, because we're just thinking from a logical, rational perspective. The last aspect of the law of three is the reconciling force. And with the reconciling force, essentially there always starts out with two forces, the affirming and the denying. And we're always going to have these thoughts about what we want, and we're always going to have these thoughts about why we can't have it. Usually, that's how humans operate on a day-to-day basis. I want this, I can't have it. I want this, but I can't have it. I want this, but I can't have it. The only way you end up getting what you want is because a reconciling force entered the conversation. It was an A-B conversation, and C saw its way in. And so that reconciling force came in and said, despite you thinking that you couldn't have this, despite you thinking that A wasn't possible for you, here you go. So it is. It is done. Your wish has been fulfilled. Your prayer has been answered. Amen, ashe, right? So what we're looking for in this situation is our reconciling force. When you have a desire, but you have detected your doubt, then you want to ask, what would the reconciling force be? Despite my limiting beliefs, despite my doubts, how would I still want this to play out? I would say, despite me not having a side hustle, despite me not having a main hustle, despite me not knowing nobody who can spot me that 10K by tomorrow, despite me not having a job, I am still happy and extremely grateful for the fact that $10,000 is sitting in my bank account right now. No questions asked about how that money got there, about when, where, why it got there. You can even add to that holy reconciling force, for the highest good of all people involved, despite me not having I'm still happy and grateful that I have received and I have $10,000. As you can see, the holy reconciling force is essentially an entity that comes in to help you bring that thing into fruition. You can do your own research on the law of three, but this is what I gained from it by learning about it and applying it to a manifestation perspective.
I wanted to add a more detailed explanation and analogy of the law of three for those of you who think more metaphysically and metaphorically. Imagine that your desire is a baby, and it chose to be born through you because it knows you have the capacity to give it life. So with the law of three, consider that the seed of your desire is the first moving part of your manifestation, the affirming force. Then envision the seed going into soil. This is what we say is like impregnation, or the conception of a desire or idea. The soil is your mind or your womb space. The reason why it represents the denying force is because the womb, just like soil, is dark. It has been convoluted with concepts of thought that existed before that desire came into play. In this space, you essentially have no sense of self as the seed, and therefore cannot understand your true power. However, in order for a seed to become a fully grown plant, it must be nourished with the sun. The sun represents enlightenment, clarity, and creation. It is your responsibility to act as the third force, the reconciling force, known as the sun, by empowering the seed of your desire with the sense of self who has obtained its full power.
That is the deprogramming process, basically breaking your limiting belief down into nothing by saying, despite the doubts that I had, I know and I have faith that what I desire to see come into fruition is already done, and that is now where my faith lies. Period, point blank. Now, we're going to move into the reprogramming process. And the reprogramming aspect of this is so that your mind can start fluidly functioning on the newly reconciled force within yourself so that it can replace the limiting belief that we just got rid of. So that reprogramming is simply saying affirmations to yourself every day, starting with that reconciling force statement that you said. You can say, despite not feeling like I could make 10K by tomorrow, I'm happy and grateful that it already exists in my bank account. I'm chilling, right? But you can also say more affirmations to yourself, like, I am so grateful that I'm so lucky to have so much money in my bank account. It just keeps pouring in, pouring in. I don't have no clue what I'm gonna do with all this money. I just have so much money that I'm actually able to give to this person, and I can pay back this person, I can pay off this bill, and I can do this and this and this. And just keep going on a rampage about how you're so grateful and thankful and blessed to have all that money in your bank account to do whatever you want with, right? That in itself is going to reprogram your nervous system. It's going to reprogram your subconscious mind. It's going to reprogram your train of thoughts to go into a new direction, a new paradigm of consciousness that allows you to deeply feel inspired and embodied by that version of you who initially sent you the desire in the first place. Mirror work is also a really good way to apply this method. Also, EFT tapping works really well, where you tap on the energy points in your body while saying affirmations. I am so grateful and thankful that $10,000 is in my bank account right now, at the highest good of all people involved. I am so grateful that I get to use this money to do da 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 da. And just say your affirmations and really get into your flow state as you tap on the meridians of your body that exist at the points here on your temples. I'm not going to go into detail. You can also look that up if you would like, but just look up EFT tapping and then say your affirmations as you go along. Doing this while you also watch yourself do it in the mirror is a really intimate process for you to really trust and believe in the words that you're saying, and the mirror reflects you, so it helps to build your self-concept as well. The last part is reinforcement. So the last part is reinforcement, and reinforcement just means that every single day you're showing up in this newly conditioned, this newly constructed version of yourself that is now walking in the aligned sense of faith that you have what you've been desiring. No longer are you even moving from a place of desire. Now you're moving from a place of contentment, you're moving from a place of gratitude, and you're moving from a place of trust that it is already done, and so it is. All possibilities exist in divine mind, and as long as you keep faith that it is already done, you will see it come to pass before you know it. And the only delays that actually exist are from the conditions of your doubts still showing up in your 3D reality. But this is the best time to detach or practice the law of detachment so that you no longer are suffering through that previous or prior attachment that you had to your doubts from your past sense of self. And as you wake up every single day, just allow yourself to feel grateful for what you already have, grateful for what is to come, grateful for the world itself. Like, really immerse yourself in gratitude and just remember that you are a reflection of God. God is within you. You cannot fail. And so in 2024, we are not letting our doubts delay our desires anymore, because now you have a 4-step method to get that limiting belief the fuck up out of here. All right?
Get that nigga out of here.
It ain't doing you no good. You got places to be, people to see, and you are on your way to success in 2024. And if you would like more assistance or guidance or intuitive information regarding the full out aspect of how I came up with this process and more details and things of that nature to manifest with this method, you would probably love my ebook that I wrote about it called Rewritten Identity. And I will link that down below in my description bar so you can put that in your cart and check out before 2024, because that ebook has helped me so much, and I actually return to it pretty often, which is why I made the video today. There is so much like nuggets of wisdom in that ebook that I'm just like I wrote that? Damn. There are journal prompts and mental diet worksheets so that you can refine what you're consuming and align with that version of yourself who already has what you're desiring. So month by month in 2024, you're knocking them doubts out the water and being in alignment with your highest self at all times. And so that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, that you resonated with it. Please tell me down below in the comments, what is something that you've been desiring or something that you desire to see come into fruition in 2024? And let's just have a transparency moment down in the comments. Name one thing that you feel like is just nagging at you about a doubt why you don't think it would manifest. Or even better, I got one even better. Fuck them doubts, baby. I want you in the comments to use the law of 3. In the comments, I want you to drop what you're desiring in 2024. Type out a doubt that you might have had towards it, or a doubt that you have been having towards it, or however that goes, if you do have any doubts at all. But I just want you to use the reconciling force in the comments and say, despite the doubt that ... couldn't come into fruition in 2024, I am so grateful and thankful and blessed that it came into fruition in the most effortless and easy way. I'm so lucky, I'm so happy. Go all out. I just want to hear you put it into the universe before it even manifests, because we're gonna come back to this video this time next year and be like, wow, I really actually am the creator of my reality. Say that so, but it always been that way. You just know now. So until next time, my lovers, my angels, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.